Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me on this channel, Adults ESL Online Learning. I'm Dr. Hernandez Smith, and this video is about the mystery of Marilyn Monroe, the Unheard tapes. I don't know about you, but Marilyn Monroe is one of my favorite actresses of all time. And so when I saw that there was another documentary about her, I immediately wanted to watch it. Emma Cooper directed this true crime or crime-ish story about Marilyn Monroe. It's crime-ish because she is gone, she's passed, and we know what happened to her, but there's still some kind of mystery around her death. And that's why it's crime-ish, if you will. It was narrated by Anthony Summers, an Irish journalist. And Anthony recorded his research on Marilyn Monroe's life and published his conclusions in the 1985 book Goddess: The Secret Lives of Marilyn Monroe. So this documentary began with Summers' conspiracy theory surrounding Marilyn Monroe's 1962 death from an overdose. But mostly the film presented a rehash of established facts and well-circulated rumors about Marilyn's life. The audio tape recordings of the interviews that Anthony recorded while researching Monroe were lip synced by actors. And this gives the film a feeling that the witnesses or her friends are still alive when most of these people have already passed. But it is an interesting effect to see actors lip syncing to these audio recordings. It's a nice touch. Summers shared tantalizing information from the family of Ralph Greenson, who was Monroe's psychiatrist, and from Fred Odish, a private eye who, in the tapes, said that Jimmy Hoffa wanted to dig up dirt on John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy. Throughout the film, Marilyn was said to have been involved with both Kennedy brothers. And ultimately, fears of communism and loose talk of nuclear weapons may have had something to do with Marilyn and the Kennedys, but these insinuations of the greatest hits of Cold War paranoia hardly amount to a coherent theory. So this film basically, it just tells you what you already know about Marilyn, uh, because of it's a rehash of these rumors and these stories of her when she was alive, which are some are wonderful to hear and others are just really sad. um, we know she was an orphan, and this longing to be with the family was just something that Marilyn Monroe desired from listening to her interviews and from also listening to the interviews of her friends. She really wanted to be a mom and be part of a family, but that just it never happened for her, and that's tragic. It's very sad, and her death is tragic. So let me know what you think and leave a comment in the comment section. After watching the documentary, how do you practice and improve your self-awareness and self-care? Marilyn went to many therapists and many psychiatrists, psychologists, and she practiced self awareness. It seemed like she was going to see professionals to help her get her life in order. But it never, it didn't, I don't know if it helped. It didn't hurt, or maybe it did hurt her. I don't know. It's quite confusing because the self care part was not there. She did not take care of herself. She she was taking lots of prescribed drugs. She was working very hard, and she was also uh, surrounding herself, or she was with men who said they loved her, but um, probably just loved how she made them feel about themselves. And then ultimately discarded her when they realized that she needed care, and that care was something that she had to do for herself, and she wasn't doing that. And I don't think they really ever supported her self care. Arthur Miller was in the documentary. One of Marilyn Monroe's uh, close friends or advocates um, asked, no, and didn't ask, she told Arthur Miller that anybody who allows her to be taking these drugs should be shot. And that was, and he was the one that was responsible for her care. And he was allowing her to um, overdose and just abuse these prescription drugs when all she really wanted was someone to support her in her career, someone to support her in her personal life, and help her become a mother. And no one helped her. And her life began, with as an orphan. I mean, her parents were they weren't helpful at all, and neither were the foster families that she stayed with and the orphanages where she was at, because she was molested, she was abused, and she grew up as a beautiful she grew up to be become a beautiful woman who was picked she was picked by Hollywood to become the star. And it's so sad because in the beginning of the documentary, we're we're told that everyone in Hollywood, all the casting directors in Hollywood at that time, had a black book, and in that black book were names of all the um, showgirls in town, and it had all their information, their height, their measurements, all that kind of stuff, and also if they were willing to have sex with just anyone, that casting couch. And I'm not saying that Marilyn Monroe did this, but she was used by many people, and I wouldn't be surprised if um, she was taken advantage of in that situation, in the promise of becoming a star, because it seemed that this happened often, because with the Kennedys, which is really sad to hear and sickening to hear, because they did a lot of good things for our country, but they the two brothers, Robert and John F. Kennedy, allegedly had an affair with Marilyn and partied with her in Hollywood, and had actually had political discussions with her, shared secrets with her, and because she was a very smart woman. And when they realized that she was struggling with her mental health, and her career was not very it wasn't going as successfully as it had before, because she was addicted to these prescription drugs, and her ex-husbands were, were just breaking her heart. Uh, they decided they were no longer, it wasn't a good idea to be having an affair with Marilyn Monroe. So we don't know what happened. It's all alleged, but in the documentary, the private investigator and some journalists that were around that time shared information that Robert F. Kennedy was in town, and from 11 a.m. to 3 from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. In those hours, maybe Robert Kennedy was at her house, got her upset, and left. And because there's records of a helicopter flight that took him to San Francisco, and at between 2 and 3 a.m., which is, which was the time that Marilyn was maybe alive, or maybe on her on her way to transition into her passing in a tragic way. And that's the scandal. But we also learned from the journalists, and from the ambulance, the paramedics, that she was alive when they found her, and they drove her to the hospital, and then they decided to drive her back. And that's when the photographs of her body being carried out in the gurney are public. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting circumstantial evidence, but so much of the circumstances around her death have been, the documentation around that time has been destroyed, so that it really is inconclusive. All we do know is that she did commit suicide from an overdose, and that's it. But the documentary does bring up at least for me, those questions of self-awareness. How do you practice and improve your self-awareness if you know you're going down a destructive path? If you know you're practicing hurtful practices, or hurtful behavior, do you recognize it? Can you recognize it? When do you recognize it? And how do you take care of yourself? How do you show compassion and start caring for yourself, so that you're not hurting yourself anymore, and improving your situation? I don't. I think it's important to practice that self-reflection and practice self-accountability, so that you can take responsibility or for your actions and your decision making, and feel confident in knowing about your life experience, and that you can take that and learn from it, and just progress in your pursuit of being the best version of yourself. And I just feel really sad for people like Marilyn Monroe, who were raised in an abusive environment, neglectful environment, and grew up to become such beautiful people, flawed, beautiful people who don't hurt people, and actually hurt themselves, and others hurt them. My heart goes out to those types of individuals, and I hope we learn to recognize opportunities of self-reflection and self-improvement in ourselves, so that we can, and self care for ourselves so that we can help others as well. Thanks a lot for watching. If you're interested in more content like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe or the like button and the notification bell. You'll be informed and notified when a new video or new content is uploaded. I hope you have a great day and thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.